Spirit Sports Consultants presents our weekly NFL picks.
Cowboys at the Eagles, kicking it off at the home of the defending champs as always. And we think this is a very interesting game because of what the Cowboys have done in the offseason. For one thing, you're getting Dak Prescott back healthy. And let's not forget this was the 2023 NFC East champs before the Eagles went on their run with Saquon. Saquon, of course, making a huge difference last season. Runs like this, and of course, what Jalen Hurts is able to do in the passing game. So for this matchup, let's first look at the Eagles' offense. We love what they've got with Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. But let's not overlook those receivers. They effectively had two number ones with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. We like what they can do with the tush push, short yardage. We think this is the truly balanced offense. Then on defense, they lost quite a few. They lost 5 defensive players, 3 in the secondary with Darius Slay, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and others. And we think that might be a limitation this year. They were great last year, but can they bounce back from those losses? For the Cowboys, we think Dak Prescott being back now, they've got 2 number 1 receivers as well with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Could they take advantage of that depleted Eagles secondary? Something to definitely watch. But they need more balance. The running game hasn't been there for the past couple of seasons. So really for the Cowboys to compete, they need to improve there. And we really want to watch the Cowboys secondary. They were great back in 2023 with Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland. They were hurt a lot last year. Let's see if they can bounce back. So when we look at this one, we see an advantage for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott and those 2 number 1s against a depleted passing defense. Lost 3 people from the secondary. Can Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean bounce back? And then the Cowboys' bad rushing defense up against that guy. Could be a problem. We think this game's going to be closer than people think. We think we've updated our score prediction to be 28-24. The reason for that is division rivals tend to play each other closely. Everybody's high on the Eagles. They won the Super Bowl. That's when you want to arguably sell high and look at the underdog here. We think the Cowboys have a good chance to cover that 7 to 7.5 point spread. Chiefs and Chargers on the Friday game from Brazil. Should be a great AFC West divisional matchup. Offended a few of the Chiefs fans, and we predicted they would only go 10-7 this year as opposed to their 15-win season last year. That's because it's very tough to win 15 games in a season. We love what they have on offense. Quarterback Mahomes is always the class of the league. They're going to get Rashee Rice back from injury. Should be a little bit better there. We picked against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl solely because that was a great matchup for the Eagles. They had a guy in Zach Bond that could shut down Travis Kelce, and they had a great pass defense. We're not sure that the Chargers have that. The secondary, Dante Jackson comes over. We think the secondary is the weakness. That's not a weakness that you want going up against Mahomes in that group. So we like the Chiefs in this one, 24-21 over the Chargers in Brazil. And before we continue, if you would, just join our channel. And if you like this video or find it useful, like it and then subscribe. We provide weekly NFL picks, highlights, and sports travel. Thank you. Let's start with the Sunday 1 o'clock games. We'll look at Jacksonville, Duval hosting the Panthers, matchup of 2 number 1 overall draft pick quarterbacks. Panthers and Jaguars both struggled last season. We saw a little bit of glimpse of hope for the Panthers late. Jaguars continue to be kind of mediocre, average. We think the offseason they benefited both teams, but we really like the Jaguars here adding Travis Hunter. We think that's going to be a big difference. We think he can step right in and play defensive back right away. And again, with a quarterback like Bryce Young, the added defensive back is going to help the Jags significantly. We look at these 2 quarterbacks, and both have problems. We went to one of the Jacksonville games a few years back and were stunned by the lack of accuracy by Trevor Lawrence. But we think with a better receiver, Travis Hunter to go along with Brian Thomas, we think the Jags have a slight advantage, and what we really like here is the weather. If you haven't been to North Florida in September, it's going to be humid. That advantage goes to the Jags. Take the Jags here. And next up, we have the Bengals at the Browns. If you look at the Bengals' recent history, Joe Burrow has had a history of slow starts. That Week 1 defeat last season, hosting the Patriots, in a game many people lost their survivor pool on, that really crushed them, and ultimately that one loss cost them a playoff spot late. But to end the 2024 season, the Bengals are one of the hottest teams in the league, winning 5 of their last 6. And we would have to think that carries over here. On paper, this seems like a very one-sided matchup with the offensive dynamo that is the Bengals against an unloved Browns team for which we know very little, especially on offense. But let's not overlook that defense is consistently given Joe Burrow fits. Any team with Myles Garrett and Jim Schwartz as the defensive coordinator is always going to give them trouble, especially at home. But where we have questions, of course, is the Browns' offense. Who's going to start? We would expect it's going to be someone like Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco. We don't expect Shedeur to start. but we think that defense is going to be able to slow down the Bengals. But we just don't know with the offense. When it comes to picking games, betting, we don't go with what we don't know. We do know the Browns' defense is good. We would expect a lower scoring game here. We lean towards the under. And then we like the Bengals winning, but we wouldn't make our survival pick here. We like them winning, but not covering, winning by 4. And the Dolphins and Colts in the matchup of two teams that we consider playoff bubble teams, arguably good enough if things break right. Dolphins, that explosive offense, they've struggled in the past couple of years with their defense, have two key players coming back, and then the Colts, Anthony Richardson with flashes of brilliance, but inconsistent, and now it looks like Daniel Jones is going to be the initial starter as Richardson recovers from injury. But the Colts, again, had so many close calls last year. They had this one game against the Broncos. They really had it until this one play where Taylor dropped the ball before the end zone, a few bad mistakes, and then, again, they were very competitive. We think this year their offense is going to be good. If either the quarterbacks can just take the job and be good, we think they'll be competitive and maybe make the playoffs. But for this game, because it's indoors, the Dolphins' offense is back. They've been playing together for 3 to 4 years. I think that consistency is going to be the difference. I think the Dolphins here, 27-24. And this year we've added membership, so become a member. And as a member, you'll receive a free copy of our Pro Football Preview. That's the information we're showing, the graphics. They're all contained in there, team previews. Also, we have our 2025 NFL schedule with a week-by-week schedule of all of that. And then also our wager worksheets in which we track winning and losing wagers. Raiders at the Patriots, another very intriguing Week 1 matchup with a lot of questions. We think both of these teams have greatly improved in the offseason. I think both are considered the top 5 most improved teams in the league. There's a lot to like in this matchup. We love the head coaches. Pete Carroll, of course, Super Bowl champion. Mike Vrabel, always very competitive head coach when he was with the Titans. And, of course, as a player, won multiple rings with the same Patriots team. We like the upside with Patriots quarterback Drake May. We love the moves they've made in the offseason, adding key players like Carlton Davis to pair with all-pro Christian Gonzalez. That gives him one of the best secondaries in the league. And then the Raiders with Geno Smith, already having tight end Brock Bowers, and drafting Ashton Genty. That should be a dynamic offense. And while we see great potential with the Raiders this season, look out for them in the AFC West. For this game, the Patriots' pass defense is going to make the difference. Geno Smith has a history of being an interception risk. We think that holds up here. Look for the Patriots to get 1 or 2 interceptions off Geno, and that is going to be the difference. We like the Patriots in this one. Giants at the Commanders, and what more can you say about the excellent rookie season? Jaden Daniels of the Commanders coming out of nowhere to reach the NFC Championship game. This was one of the biggest playoff upsets we can recall. We definitely had the Lions in this game. Didn't hurt that Jared Goff gave them a couple of interceptions like that. But they played a great game, had a great season, and now they come into Week 1 hosting the Giants as heavy favorites. We have them here at 7 to 7.5 points, depending on where you look. But pay attention to the Giants in this game. Obviously, we know how great the Commanders are, but they played the Commanders close last season, and part of that was Jaden Daniels hadn't completely come into his own. But I'm curious to see how that defense does. We think that the Giants have one of the best front sevens in all of football, and if they can corral Jaden Daniels just a little bit, keep it a low-scoring game, they have a chance. Of course, don't know what they're going to do on offense. This is not a game that if we were to bet this, we wouldn't put a lot on it. But we think the Commanders are going to win this but not cover the spread. We like the Commanders here, 21-17 over the Giants. Let's head to the Crescent City and talk about the Cardinals at the Saints. The Saints, of course, with Derek Carr's unexpected retirement, leaves them in a question mark with the quarterbacks. You've got a few that are competing for the starting job. We'd have to think they probably go with Spencer Rattler, who kind of showed flashes last season. Not sure if the first-round pick is ready to step right in. But then on the flip side, the Cardinals are quietly one of the most improved teams in the league. If you follow what they did in the offseason, not necessarily a lot of big names. They got Josh Sweat, that's a big name. You got a few others. You got Calais Campbell coming back. We think that's going to improve the locker room. But if you look at a lot of what they did on the offense, last season they showed flashes and really were one of the better bad teams in the league. What we mean by that is bad record, good performance. They just couldn't win some of the clutch games. We think them on a fast surface here with Kyler Murray running it, James Conner and Harrison. We like them here by 10 over the Saints. Tampa Bay at Atlanta. We love this matchup. This is a really great divisional matchup, NFC South. These two teams play each other very tight regardless of where the game is. Obviously, being in Atlanta, slight edge for the Falcons there, you might think. Last year, the Buccaneers had that game won. We believe they had a 7 to 10 point lead. Somehow allowed the Falcons to come back, tie it up, and then win it in overtime. Just one of those crushing bad luck losses. We're not making excuses for the Bucs. Go watch the game. It definitely was. And then the Falcons won the other game in Tampa, so we have to think they have a little bit of an edge. But we love what the Buccaneers did in the offseason. We think they got a little bit of revenge on their mind. They were able to win the NFC South last year with tons of injuries. I mean, the Mike Evans, Chris Godwin were out together for quite a few games. Still, Baker Mayfield was able to do it. We love what Todd Bowles does on the defensive side of the ball. We think Bucky Irving balances out that offense with the running ability. We think the Buccaneers have enough to win this one. We think it'll be close. We like them 24-21 over the Falcons in the ATL. Steelers at the Jets. Interesting matchup here, obviously, as Aaron Rodgers goes back to face his former team. And then on the flip side, Justin Fields is now facing his former team as well. So we look at this one. We were wanting to pick the Jets in this one. We really liked Aaron Glenn coming over from the Lions and bringing that aggressive scheme that he has. We've always been big fans of Mike Tomlin. We look at the home field advantage. We don't think that's as much in play here because obviously Aaron Rodgers played in New York, not going to be intimidated by that environment. And we look at the overall team that the Steelers have. We just think it's going to be too much for the Jets. Also a disadvantage for the Jets. Obviously, first game for the new head coach, first game for the new quarterback. It's going to be tougher on them than it will be for the Steelers. We like the Steelers here by 6 over the Jets. And now let's take a look at the Sunday late afternoon games. We've got a few really good ones. Texans, Rams, 49ers and the Seahawks, Titans, Broncos, and we'll start off with this one, the NFC North matchup, the Lions at the Packers. We are really high on both of these teams. Unfortunately for the Packers, they're not playing this game, hosting the Lions in December or even late November. They have them in early September, taking away a little bit of that Lambeau home field advantage against an indoor team. And when we look at these two teams, the Lions are coming in. They've improved at cornerback. They've got Reed, they've got Aiden Hutchinson coming back, and the Packers, they lost one of our favorite players, Jair Alexander. We kind of understand why they let him go. Injury risk, hasn't really been playing that many games, but when he does play, Jair Alexander was a difference maker, so that's tough to make up for. And then also they're not going to have Christian Watson for several games to start the season. So we think just the fact that they are the healthier team, they get this game on the road at Lambeau in warmer weather, September. We like the Lions here, going to be a close one, 28-24 over Green Bay. Titans at the Broncos. We know these quarterbacks really well, having followed Cam Ward while he was here in South Florida at the University of Miami. And then Bo Nix, we followed him back when he was at Auburn, went to quite a few of those games on the Plains, and we've seen the improvement that he made since the Auburn days to where he is now. Great rookie season. If not for Jaden Daniels, he would have been considered for Offensive Rookie of the Year. But how can you imagine what Jaden Daniels did? Unbelievable rookie season. But we think this is a tough place to start for Cam Ward as a rookie quarterback. As good as we think that he is, going up against probably the first or second best pass defense in the NFL, led by Patrick Surtain II. That is a really tough unit. On the other side of the ball, we love what Bo Nix is able to do with that passing offense. The running game has shown improvement as well. But the Titans are surprisingly really good against the pass. They're not good scoring defense, but their yardage, less than 200 passing yards allowed per game. We're not sure if that's because teams might have been ahead, didn't need to pass as much. Could be an issue there. We think this is going to be a lower scoring game. We like the Broncos here. This would be our recommended survivor pick of the week. We think the Broncos are that good. Take them over the Titans. Texans at the Rams. Really looking forward to this one. We got the Texans. That great offense with C.J. Stroud. Had a bit of an off year for him last year. Added a couple of new weapons. We think they're going to be back, putting up some great numbers. And the Rams, of course, what have they done for the past couple of years? Won the Super Bowl a couple of years back. Returned to the playoffs after one down year in 2022. Give due props to Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, and those receivers with Puka Nacua. And then they added Devontae Adams. Should put up a lot of numbers. But we think the difference in this game is going to be defense. Look at the Texans here. We have their secondary ranked 95. We think Derek Stingley is unbelievable. They added C.J. Gardner-Johnson from the Eagles. That secondary is going to be the best in the league, in our opinion. We think the Texans take the upset here, 24-17 on the road. They're playing indoors. They're used to playing indoors. Home field is not as big of an advantage. We like the Texans here. 49ers at the Seahawks. Great NFC West divisional matchup. This one's intriguing. On paper, we lean towards the 49ers, but the Seahawks being at home, that's an unbelievable home field advantage, and we really just don't know with these two teams what they're going to look like this year. And the 49ers obviously have the pedigree, but the Seahawks were quietly good last year. They only lost the NFC West due to tiebreak, and we think the defense is stout. We like the head coach. They made a lot of improvements last year with that defense, but our real big concern is Sam Darnold. We didn't really buy what he was doing with the Vikings. We give most of that credit to Kevin O'Connell. We hope that he proves us wrong. We're going to take a wait-and-see approach here. We think Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Shanahan, we trust them a little bit more. We're going to pick the 49ers here, and a close one, 21-17 over the Seahawks. We're going to watch the Seahawks closely to see if Darnold gels with that new team. All right, now we have our deep dive feature of the game of the week. This is the game in which we're going to show you our process, show you some of the key numbers that we look at and the way that we think when we do these predictions. It's not just arbitrary. We don't just throw the dart at the dartboard and pick. We actually have a process, and we'll show you what we do here. But this is the game we wanted to feature because we thought this was probably the best game of the playoffs in 2024, 2025. We think the Ravens and Bills are two of the best teams in the AFC. We think they're 1-2 in the AFC, with apologies to the Chiefs. But in the playoff game, plays like this where Lamar just lost the ball, they ended up losing 3 turnovers. They outgained the Bills by over 125 yards. But losing the turnover battle 3-zip, you're not going to win a game. Statistics show 92% of the time you're going to lose, and this was key. They also did not have all-pro wide receiver Zay Flowers. I think he's Pro Bowl, not all-pro, but that was key. That was the one major weapon, and then Mark Andrews dropping that tying 2-point conversion. But let's take a look at the Buffalo offense. We think that obviously has to start with MVP Josh Allen. We give him a 94 for that. But the questions we have there would be the running backs. We think James Cook is a little bit unhappy with his contract. And then the receivers. We don't see anyone in that group that really worries us. Then if you look on the flip side, if you take a look at the Baltimore Ravens defense, what they just did acquiring Jair Alexander, we're going to bump that secondary ranking up. We did this before the Jair Alexander signings. We think that secondary is going to be top tier. We think they should be able to slow down those average to slightly above average Buffalo Bills receivers. We think that's a huge edge. Then on the other side, you look at what the Ravens can do offensively. We do think that Lamar Jackson's the best quarterback in the league. Sorry, reigning MVP. We think what Lamar gives you from a running and a passing combination. And then you've got Derrick Henry. Provided he hasn't lost a step and slipped a little bit, we don't think that he has. If you look at last year, what they did in the regular season, they beat the Bills 35-7. We think that's going to turn more into that, a game like that. We like the Ravens in this one in the upset. The Bills are favored by 1.5. This reminds us a little bit of the Super Bowl line. Chiefs were favored by 1.5. We had the Eagles winning all along. We think we like the better running team. We like the better defense. Those are the two factors that we look at in this one. So go with the Ravens as the underdog in this game. Next, let's do our deep dive analysis, look at the stats, and see how we arrived at this score projection. All this is covered in our book, Winning Football Betting. Free copy for all members. Feel free to join up. But let's take a look here. This is the overall worksheet that we use. We're going to break it down for you. The first step here is to calculate what we think the Vegas line is going to be. We come out to a number of Buffalo 27, Baltimore 24. This is a very simple formula that Vegas uses. If you look at the opening line, it is exactly that. It's Buffalo minus 2.5. Trying to get you to bet on the favorite, by the way, a little trick that they do. So next we're going to break down the yardage analysis. Just to note that because of that formula, the home team is almost always favored. So if we like the road team, we need to look deeper at the numbers. Here we've got the Baltimore rush offense, 187 yards a game. The Bills allow 115. Those are the columns there. Buffalo, 131 rushing. Baltimore is the number 1 rush defense in the league, 80. They're going to shut Buffalo down a little bit. On the passing side, a key number to look at is the far column, 244. That's what Baltimore allows, but that number is offset by the fact that the secondary improved quite a bit in the second half, and then they have in the offseason added Jair Alexander, a true shutdown cornerback. So what we do with these numbers, based on what we have, we're not going to give you our formula, but this is what our result was. We feel that it benefits Baltimore on both sides. We give them a 6-point edge here. That takes away 3 from Buffalo, adds 3 to Baltimore. Our final score projection is Baltimore 27, Buffalo 24. And for the Monday night special, we think they've got a great matchup here. Division matchup, NFC North, Vikings and the Bears again. Best division in football, should be the case for the second straight year. But we think this year it's going to be strong from top to bottom. We don't see a weak link here, provided the Bears show up with Ben Johnson and Caleb takes the next step, which we definitely expect that he will. But in this matchup, we think this is great. We think it's headlined by 2 great coaches. You got Coach of the Year Kevin O'Connell with the Vikings, who did wonders with Sam Darnold. Then you got the rookie, or the first-year starter, not a rookie, but he was out all of last year, J.J. McCarthy starting for the Vikings. So it should be a really interesting game. We think the Vikings overall have a deeper roster, but our questions with McCarthy being his first start, worried there. And we do think Caleb and the Bears are going to take the next step and improve with the improvements on the offensive line, adding more weapons. We think this game is going to be exciting, close. We like the Bears here, 28-24 over the Vikings on the Monday night debut.
That's all for this time. Thank you for joining. Please subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to sharing our future videos with you.